All right. Smoking on that Alejandro Mayorkas pack. Alejandro Mayorkas, in a historic vote, has been impeached by the House Republicans. Let's take a look.
In fact, just last night, voted by a razor-thin margin to impeach DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas for his handling of the border crisis. He's the first cabinet member to be impeached since 1876, but
I'm just going to say it. Democrats have been talking shit about how Republicans don't care about the border crisis and how they have nothing going on with respect to dealing with the border crisis, and how they threw aside the incredibly reactionary white nativist border bill that the Democrats have put forward. And guess what? Guess what, Sweaty? Turns out they do have something to do about the border crisis. What are they doing? Well, oh God, what the fuck is this? This is the type of shit I see online that makes me go, maybe the Russian space nukes are not so bad after all. Wow, we are just accepting the framing of the border crisis? Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously joking. So they can impeach the DHS lead and pass the Ukraine funding bill without the border stuff. Why can't they pass a border-only bill? I mean, don't ask that question because I really don't want that. Leaning into migrant votes, Suozzi paves electioneer path for Democrats. Tom Suozzi's victory in a special House election in New York buoyed Democrat spirits and offered a model in one of the party's thorniest challenges, immigration. This is an idiotic fucking assessment. Right off the jump. In the heart of Long Island, where Republicans have won every major election in the last 3 years, Tom Suozzi fought through ripping political headwinds to claim victory. What the fuck are we talking about? They literally elected a con man. Okay? They elected a con man. Hello? That's it. After that, it was over. They elected one of the most notorious con men of all time. This is not a good analysis. This is not, in my opinion, a good special election to look at to judge anything. That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh my God. Ay, ay, ay. We are watching consent be manufactured right in front of our goddamn eyes, okay? Straight up. Let me see if I can get fucking Ettinger Mentum on here to talk to him quickly about this issue, actually. Let's see. Let's see if we can get him on. It takes dumb to paint as a immigration victory and try to lean into more on the dumb asses they are. In a memo to Democrats, Senator Murphy urges them to follow the Suozzi playbook. Democrats should learn a lesson from New York 3. Quite simply, we risk losing the 2024 election if we don't seize the opportunity to go on the offense about the issue of border and turn the table on Republicans. This is a party that is completely unserious and simply wants to lose. You cannot outflank the Republican Party on right-wing issues. You cannot outflank the Republican Party on racism. All you are doing is that the false narrative surrounding immigration, all you're doing is conceding to the false narrative that immigration is a matter of national security and therefore legitimizing a major right-wing talking point. Democrats are completely unserious and simply lose. You cannot outflank the Republican Party on racism. All you are doing is conceding that the false narrative that immigration is a matter of national security. All you are doing is conceding to the false narrative that immigration is a matter of national security and therefore legitimizing a major right-wing talking point. You don't try to beat a ground game guy on the ground. You try to take him on his weak spots. Exactly. So dumb. We are so stupid. Bro, Too Mad is dead. We know. We talked about it already. This is so fucking dumb. We are a nation of immigrants. The Democratic Party basically, like, the counter... Listen. The example I will give you is this. It's as though it's if the Democratic Party looked at the issue of abortion and was like, yeah, it is murder, okay? And we are the ones who are actually going to make abortion illegal. You're never going to win that, okay? You're never going to win that at all. It's so fucking stupid. Oh my God, why is everybody spamming Too Mad is Dead? Yes, yes, dude, yes, yes. I know there's a shooting at the Chiefs parade, and I know that there's when Too Mad died. I know that, okay? I'm not going to cover the fucking breaking news here. Anyway, let's continue with the House Republicans impeaching Mayorkas, and I'll talk about this a little bit further. I got to pee first, though.
Democrats say Republicans failed to present any clear evidence of wrongdoing. Nancy Cordes is at the White House following this for us. Nancy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Tony. And, you know, we thought that the Democratic-led Senate would just ignore this move essentially by the House, but leaders in the Senate announced late last night they are going to go ahead with an impeachment trial later this month. And that is meant to highlight the fact that even some Senate Republicans did not think the facts justified this move by their House colleagues.
The yeas are 214 and the nays are 213. The resolution is adopted.
By the slimmest of margins, House Republicans voted to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas after narrowly failing last week.
Finally, we've held Alejandro Mayorkas accountable.
According to their articles of impeachment, the high crimes and misdemeanors include a willful and systemic refusal to comply with border law after a record 2.4 million migrants were apprehended at the southern border last fiscal year. In a statement after the vote, President Biden called Mayorkas an honorable public servant and warned history will not look kindly on House Republicans for their blatant act of unconstitutional partisanship.
Many of the shortcomings Republicans complain about are because they won't give him additional legislation to better secure the border.
At the White House Tuesday, Mr. Biden argued the House should be spending its time.
I'm losing my mind. This is the worst messaging of all time. It's the worst messaging of all time. I cannot believe it. They're literally leaning into this fucking bill because Jim Crow Joe, Genocide Joe, decided that this is like a good bill to lean into. And this is a good way to message around that this is a good way to message around the issue of immigration. We are so goddamn cooked. We have an 800-year-old fossil utilizing the bully pulpit. Oh my God. Oh my God. Guys, as someone who's been in this game for a very long time, let me repeat this point, okay? I might be a dumbass, but I am 100% apparently smarter than these fucking idiots that are running the show. You will never be able to outflank the Republicans on right-wing issues.
Passing an aid package for Ukraine and Israel that the Senate approved Monday morning.
You're going to stand with Ukraine, you're going to stand with Putin. Will we stand with America or with Trump?
And he leveled harsh criticism at his Republican opponent, Donald Trump.
I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want.
After Trump appeared to side with Russia this weekend over NATO allies.
Can you imagine a former president of the United States saying that? For God's sake, it's dumb, it's shameful, it's dangerous, it's un-American.
Back to Mayorkas now. There is virtually no chance he will be convicted by the Democrat-led Senate, so he will not lose his job. But this is something House Republicans had been promising their base they would do since their first days in the majority over a year ago. Nate.
Nancy, thank you.
House Speaker Mike Johnson delivered remarks about the border bill earlier today, doubling down on not taking it to a floor vote.
The Republican...
We're so bad. We're so bad. Dude, look, we're watching what's going on in Israel and the culture surrounding like the mistreatment of Palestinians as an ethnic cleansing is happening and the lack of humanity, like the dehumanization against said Palestinians as Israel continues its ethnic cleansing. That is the future that we are looking at with respect to our border. As climate change worsens, as you have more economic migrants that obviously have no opportunities, have no more agricultural output in their home nations, you're going to see more and more people try to escape. You are going to see more and more people try to come to the United States of America. And it very obviously looks like we have decided that we are not going to try and treat this in a humane way. Okay? We are going to try and treat this in a Nazi way. just like Israel and its ethnic cleansing campaign in Palestine, our border policy is going to become increasingly more right-wing. That much seems like basically like a consistent situation. That's it. We are looking at this. We're looking at concentration camps, folks. They already kind of exist, but it's going to get worse.
Led House will not be jammed or forced into passing a foreign aid bill that was opposed by most Republican senators and does nothing to secure our own border.
ABC's Jay O'Brien joins me now on Capitol Hill for more. Jay, what do you make of Johnson's comments? What chance does this foreign aid bill have of passing?
Well, barring some procedural moves, it's really up to Johnson as to whether or not he wants to put it on the House floor for a vote. And you just heard him clearly say there that he doesn't. He doesn't want to be jammed, as he put it, by the Senate. The question then becomes twofold. One, does this put these conversations about linking border security to aid for Ukraine and for Israel right back to square one? Remember, months ago, that's what Republicans said they wanted. Then there were those bipartisan negotiations in the Senate, the product of which Speaker Johnson rejected and said he wouldn't put that on the House floor for a vote either way. The second question becomes, what's the future for aid for Ukraine and Israel like with that bill that came out of the Senate? Speaker Johnson says the majority of Republicans in that chamber didn't support it, but 22 Republicans did support it in the Senate. In the House, the question then becomes, can House Democrats partner potentially with moderate Republicans and do a procedural move, what's known as a discharge petition, to try to force this bill onto the House floor and end run around the Speaker? That's very unlikely. Those moves are very rarely successful. But right now, it's something that House Democrats are certainly getting asked if they're open to. And Hakeem Jeffries, as late as yesterday, said that all legislative options, in his view, are on the table when it comes to trying to force a vote on that bill, Diane.
Meanwhile, Jay, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas could face a trial in the Senate. He was impeached by the House yesterday, and that came down to a single vote. How significant is that, and the timing of all of this?
Yeah, Republicans needed 214 votes to pass that. They got exactly 214. It was Steve Scalise, returning from cancer treatment, the #2 Republican, that ended up putting them over the goal line. Remember, that vote failed when 3 Republicans opposed it. Pretty dramatic fashion last week. It now triggers a trial in the Senate. Chuck Schumer, the top Democrat in that chamber, Democrats control that chamber, has...
No, we didn't give Israel $95 billion. We gave Israel around, I think, $18 billion. The $95 billion package is a total package that includes some help for the Palestinians as well, I believe, to the tune of the $8 billion part might be. Well, not only, sorry. Yeah, the $95 billion includes Taiwan, the $95 billion includes Ukraine, and it includes Israel.
Indicated that there will be a formal trial perhaps in that chamber. The Senate has a couple paths that they can take. They can do a formal trial on the Senate floor like we saw during the Trump impeachments. They can send this to a committee, a specialized committee that would in a sense carry out the trial, and then the Senate would vote on whether to acquit Mayorkas or to remove Mayorkas.
It hasn't passed the House
yet. The Senate
yet.
can move pretty quickly to dismiss these charges, but you got to remember, Diane, we're in pretty uncharted legislative waters here because Mayorkas is only the second cabinet secretary in American history to be impeached, the first in nearly 150 years.
Now, Democrats, Jay, have one more seat in the House after winning back George Santos' seat in that special election in New York yesterday. So what does that mean for the balance of power in the House, especially when you look at how closely this measure over Mayorkas passed?
Well, it means Republicans have one less vote to lose on these crucial pieces of legislation, some of them controversial, that do lose Republican votes. Look no further, as you noted, than the Mayorkas impeachment vote, where Republicans last week, when Steve Scalise was absent, lost 3 of their own, and that, when you had one Democrat show up at the last minute from the hospital, doomed that resolution. It shows you just how slim the margin for error is when it comes to the House Republican Conference and having A, everybody present, and B, everybody voting for legislation that they know is not going to get any votes from Democrats. So when you have that one additional Democratic vote, it makes it all the more complex. Think about it this way. If this Mayorkas impeachment had happened after that special election in New York and after Tom Swalwell would be seated, it would not have passed, Diane.
All right, Jay O'Brien on Capitol Hill. Thanks, Jay.
Hi, everyone. George.
No help for Palestinians. UNRWA delivering aid is prohibited, and if there's a ceasefire with Hamas still in power, there will be no aid delivered. It's a sleight of hand. Yeah, I think that the special House election in New York is a really, I guess, yet another terrifying way where we are just moving in that direction. Like anything and everything we can use in the Democratic Party to claim that, like, no, the people demand more concentration camps. The people demand more aggressive methods of dealing with migration, and that yes, immigration is legitimately a matter of national security, is one, terrifying for the future of the United States of America, okay? And two, shows me that, Democrats want to lose in general, okay? Democrats want to lose in general. They want to lose to the Republicans. There's no way that this is bad politics and bad policy. It's bad policy because it's literally white nativist immigration strategies that legitimizes the psychotic right-wing framing that the Democrats have at least like aesthetically opposed for years and years and years. Okay? And it's bad politics because you can never outflank the Republicans on this anyway. But let's say you do win. Let's say you do win on this issue. Let's say you are now the party of anti-immigration, right? Let's say the Democratic Party becomes tomorrow the party of anti-immigration, and all of the anti-immigrants are voting Democrat, okay? Is that a good thing? This is a question we must ask ourselves. Is this a good thing? And an identical parallel that I can present you is protecting trans people, okay? Republicans have been actively trying to claim that trans people existing in public is actually a genuine threat to women's lives and women's safety in general, because like trans women are somehow all sexual deviants, right? This is the narrative that they've tried to frame surrounding the trans issue as they've desperately tried to make this a wedge issue in the culture war. It has failed thus far. But imagine if it was getting more prominence in mainstream discourse, and then the Democrats decided, you know what, actually, we are the party that's going to kill trans people, not you. Would that be a good thing? Would this be overall a positive change? Yeah, you don't have to look any further than the Labor Party for an analog there anyway. It would not be a good thing. It would not be a good thing if the Democratic Party became the anti-immigration party and then ran on the anti-immigration agenda successfully and then started implementing anti-immigration protocols. More anti-immigration protocols than we have passed thus far. Okay? It sucks. Wouldn't it be better to just try and win? Winning doesn't do anything in this situation. That's what I'm trying to describe to you. The reason why you ostensibly vote for the Democratic Party is because they're supposed to be marginally better than the Republican Party. What does that mean? They're better than the Republican Party because they're not openly hostile towards immigrants. They're not openly hostile towards trans people. They're supposed to be pro-trans people, pro-gay people, pro-immigrant, right? All of these things. That's why you're supposed... Harm reduction only works if the Democratic Party is actually reducing harm. When the Democratic Party decides, no, we are the ones who are going to be doing the harm, then there is no harm reduction. Do you not understand that? There is no reason at that point to vote for the Democratic Party at all. I'm not arguing against you. I'm just trying to flesh out your argument. I have described my argument in very certain terms, time and time again, because that's what someone would say. I don't know what you mean, but I'm explaining to you what I'm talking about. There is no harm reduction if the Democratic Party adopts the position of the Republican Party on immigration, which is what they're doing. So even if it's because it's bad politics and bad policy, even if it was good politics, as in this worked and the Democrats became the anti-immigrant party, it would still be bad. It would be bad because then, okay, you're voting for the Democratic Party and their anti-immigration. You're voting for the Republican Party and their anti-immigration. So all you are getting is bad bills on immigration. What is the point of winning if you get nothing out of it? The notion this is the reason why I think a lot of people in the United States of America, especially, do not understand this, is because they're so conditioned into thinking that politics is just pure team sport. Okay? I go in, I do my civic duty, I vote once every 4 years, and then I fuck off, and I never think about it ever again. And when my party's in charge, things are supposed to be better, right? At least my party won. 80% of Americans, according to the Pew Center studies, vote on party lines. They do not have any ideological underpinnings for why they vote for either party. They vote Democrat because their parents voted Democrat, or they vote Democrat because they were conditioned into voting Democrat somehow. They vote Republican because their parents were voting Republican. Only 20% of American voters actually vote for either party because they feel like there are concessions that they can extract from either party. Okay? That's crazy. That's not how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be 20-80 in the other direction, where 80% of the people are supposed to be voting for whatever party they're voting for because they believe that that party aligns with their values. I don't agree with you, Hassan. Okay, well, you don't have to agree with me, but it's just the simple truth. This further creates the narrative that neither party actually cares about anything, and there is a uniparty attitude. Okay? Anyway, this is terrifying. Leading into the migrant woes, Suozzi pays election year. Mr. Suozzi's 8-point win flipped one of the 5 House seats Democrats needed to retake the majority in November, giving the party a badly needed shot of optimism. Okay? But his campaign also provided something that may prove more valuable, a playbook for candidates across the country competing on turf where President Biden and his party remain deeply unpopular. First of all, I don't think President Biden and his party is deeply unpopular, specifically in this district. Okay? The strategy went something like this: challenge Republicans on issues they usually monopolize, like crime, taxes, and above all, immigration. This is the exact reason why New York became almost purple for like for a moment. Okay? Trying to outflank the Republicans on crime, taxes, and immigration is literally the worst strategy of all time. You are personally reaffirming the narrative that these are real problems, or even if they are problems, by the way, they're problems that only the Republican Party's strategies can solve. That is really stupid. Okay? How do you message on a subject where 75% of Americans believe there's at least a serious problem at the border? Beautiful question. 75% of Americans would not believe that there is an issue at the border if the Democratic Party and the organs of propaganda that operate alongside the Democratic Party, the supposed liberal mainstream media, actually covered the issue with factually accurate information. This is identical to the issue of crime, retail theft, something that I have been absolutely daggered on time and time again, despite the fact that I was correct. Crime as a phenomena was manufactured. Crime is a constant, of course, especially in cities and whatnot, and it is a product of material conditions worsening. But if you ask the Democratic Party and the liberals, crime was happening because police were being defunded. That is right-wing framing. So the Democrats tried to outflank the Republicans on defunding the police and say, we are the party that wants to fund the police. In a country where 86% of the police vote Republican, it is an objectively idiotic way that the Democrats keep losing over and over and over again, and yet they still do it. They still do it because I suspect they want to lose. But at this point, it's like saying, go back in time and don't poison the well. If Dems change their tune right now, voters would think they're denying reality for how long? Eventually, the narrative would correct, but we're on a deadline here. That's so funny. You are missing the point that I'm making, okay? Even turning it around at this point is still good, okay? Because this is still a losing framing on the issue. You are never going to convince the Republicans, the Republican voters, and the reactionaries that the Democratic Party is the party of immigration. Even if you win, okay, and you do actually convince them, then all you're doing is passing right-wing issues anyway. All you're doing is passing bills that are right-wing anyway. But it's also idiotic. Agreed, it's good on the broader sense, but again, it's not the GOP independence thing is a problem. independents think is a problem and will never be convinced that the Democratic Party will fix the problem. Independents have been captivated by right-wing framing pushed by liberal organs within the media. Okay? That's it. So work on issues that are strongest for you. Why are you caving to right-wing framing on immigration? Just hammer on the position that abortion was taken away from 50% of the population here in the United States of America by Republicans. Republicans are going after your civil liberties. There are ways to reframe the narrative. Republicans do it every day. They guide every single issue. They are the ones who run and dominate. They are the ones who run and dominate the conversation nonstop. The fact that we had any conversations about little trans girls participating in high school sports, even for a brief moment, even for more than 3 seconds, was a clear indication that this conversation is always, the media cycle is always dominated by right-wing framing on right-wing issues. And Democrats are always trying to play catch up. Okay? And if you do that, if you let them win on the messaging front, inevitably, people are going to believe that framing. People are going to start saying, well, everyone's saying it. Even the Democrats are saying it. But that's because it's easier for Republicans as they're doing it so from a position of power. That's not true. You're so wrong. The Republicans recognized that they had no power at the legislative body, at the federal level. So they, for the past 30 years, have very clearly used obstructionist policies at the legislative level, at the federal level, and then beefed up their incredibly gerrymandered state legislatures and filled the courts to the brim with Federalist Society judges all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States to basically get their wish at the state level, and then have that be tested in the courts and push for it at the federal level through the Supreme Court. What you're saying should be heard by leftists who say that abortion rights were taken away under Biden, so why should they vote for him again? That's part of the problem. An avoidable wrong place, wrong time situation when SCOTUS decided to overturn Roe. Hasanabi Productions posted your reaction to Two-Man's death. I think it's tasteless, and you should probably tell them to delete it before your haters screenshot it and shit on you on Twitter again, thinking it's your channel and it's you uploading it to profit off of someone's death. Even people in the comments are telling them to delete it, and it's shameful how fast it was posted. Hasanabi Productions, if you don't take that fucking video down, I'm going to do everything in my power to fucking take your goddamn channel down. Okay? Holy shit, dude. Have some fucking think for a second. You're so horny to get the fucking views, okay? You're so horny to get the goddamn views. You don't realize that, like, every time I get fucking actually canceled, your view counts are going to go down as well, okay? When I get fucking really canceled one day and quit streaming entirely because of the dumb shit that you do like this from time to time, okay? Then you're going to have no content to post, okay? Do you want that? Come on, man. Someone in the Discord must have direct access to him. Just fucking reach out to him and tell him, take this shit down. Too Mad died? Wait, really? No. Oh, I think he already deleted it. Okay, good. There you go. That was quick. That was swift. What's wrong with it? I'm confused. Dude, what do you mean what's wrong with it? What do you mean what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it is that immediately it's just like, people are going to be like, oh, you're capitalizing on someone's death. Okay? Wait, at least wait a little bit. You know what I mean? Or frame it in a way that makes a little bit more sense. Or just don't post it entirely, obviously. Have we not learned from 2016 what happens when we abstain or vote third party? Increase the odds that Republicans are gaining office. The residents of Roe is a clear example. Yeah, it's really cute that you're saying that, because I don't think you understand, but like in 2016, I was telling people to go and fucking... the clip complex has to understand that your haters can't tell the difference between you and a fan channel and will think Hassan is the one capitalizing on it. It's insane. Yeah, it doesn't even matter. Some of them know that it's a clip complex, but they still fucking do it. A lot of people in the comments aren't saying what that chatter said. People in the comments are saying, yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't think it's a good look regardless. And the video has been taken down swiftly because he's in here, because he's always in here, because he's fucking looking for anything to clip out. Anyway, all right. But yeah, overall, to that one chatter who was asking, in 2016, I was advocating to vote for Hillary Clinton because I saw how devastating that would be. And I was right. And in 2020, as you guys know, I worked with even the Democratic Party on special elections. Okay, as you guys saw. But ultimately, it's just, at a certain point, you have to recognize that this is idiotic and bad. I always tell you to vote regardless, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that voting for the Democratic Party when they're trying to pull some fuck shit like this is going to be good, because it's not going to be good. Because if they get there, if they push for this and win on this issue, and they actually push legislation that is right-wing, then there is no difference between the Republicans doing this and the Democrats doing it. There's no difference. Unless you just personally only vote for the Democratic Party because you want a Democrat to be in office so you feel like your team is winning, Like, what's the difference here? What's the difference? If the Democratic Party tomorrow, in a hypothetical scenario that is not so hypothetical, decided that they are going to be the ones that are going to be anti-trans and push anti-trans bills. A lot of you liberals love talking about trans people, and you're like, oh, I guess you just don't care about trans people. I guess you don't care about immigrants. Remember how many fucking liberals said that in the 2020 election? I guess you don't care about immigrants then, and that's why you want to vote Republican. Not voting is basically voting for the Republicans. Okay, now Democrats are like, we don't give a shit about immigrants. We want to kill them ourselves. And you're like, well, if you don't vote for the Democratic Party, then, then Republicans are going to win. Okay, what's the difference? What's the difference? There is no lesser evil between the two parties if the Democratic Party is also pushing for the same evil that the Republican Party is pushing for. Anyway, it's a very interesting lesson for the Democrats. You can escape your opponent's attacks on immigration by not only leaning into the issue, but doubling down on it, said Steve Israel, a former congressman. Wait, let me see. Ettinger Mentum just responded. Oh, shit. Yes, you can call via iPhone. Just get on Discord. Dems are pushing for like 5 crime bill equivalent policies, and Republicans want to do the same shit too. One's red, the other's blue, though. Yeah, it's such a sad state of affairs. And if I pull myself out of this for a second and like make comparisons to what's going on in the UK, what's going on in other European countries, okay? What a lot of people don't understand is this is how fascism wins, okay? This is how fascism wins. Republicans are still worse by far on immigration, encouraging irresponsible voting. Pogo, shut up. Shut up. No, Republicans are currently not still worse by far on immigration because, and here's why. Here's why they're not worse by far in immigration. Republicans just keep pushing the boundaries as Democrats normalize the prior election cycles' immigration issues and adopt the Republican framing. That's why Democrats are allowing Republicans to win. This is my point. How do you not see it? The bill that they're talking about on immigration literally has funds to complete Trump's border wall in it. This is the party that for 4 years said no border wall. This is the party that then turned around and actually used eminent domain to keep building Trump's border wall. Brandon did that. What are you saying? You have no real interest in fixing any of these issues at all. You just want the Democrats to win. That's it. And why? Why should they? Well, it doesn't matter. As it stands currently, you are so obsessed with foreign policy, you don't see the vast difference between the parties here on U.S. on domestic policy. I am a political commentator with now 10 years under his belt. Okay? I have covered many election cycles, and I am drawing conclusions off of the past election cycle. You guys started paying attention maybe last election cycle, okay? And even though you started paying attention last election cycle, I've said nothing about foreign policy thus far so far, okay? American foreign policy is bipartisan. That's a given. It doesn't even matter. American domestic policy is supposed to not be so bipartisan. I'm telling you, every single thing that Joe Biden ran on as it pertains to immigration in 2020, he has now completely turned on and has adopted the right-wing framing on. Please. I know that your confidence is shook because you think I'm some fucking tanky or some shit. Because some other goddamn CP defending ethics of pedophilia Andes out there have told you that I'm fucking wrong. But I'm not wrong. Do your own reading and exercise critical thinking. You are blind to the reality. And no, I'm not even talking about Vosh here, okay? Destiny has done the same shit. And all of their goddamn orbiters. There's a reason why you can pull my commentary on Huffington Post or on the Young Turks from like 2016, 2015, and the issues are the same. My criticisms of the Democratic Party are the same. The only thing that has changed is how much the liberals have turned into the same exact MAGA Republicans, both on policy and also in the admiration that they demonstrate for the Democratic Party's president-elect, the Democratic Party's candidate. Think about it this way. Look at the way that they're treating Jon Stewart, who had the audacity to say both candidates are fucking old. Obviously, Trump's worse, but goddamn. Both candidates are fucking old. Everyone lost their minds over it. Anyway, I'm going to call Ettinger Mentum right now, and we're going to hear his, he's the special election boy, so we're going to hear his perspective on it real quick. This is very frustrating. What's up, Ettinger Mentum?
Hey, what's up? I'm on my phone for the people listening, so if it doesn't sound like perfect, that's the reason why.
No, you sound perfect right now. There is no issue.
Yeah. So,
anyway, a special election occurred in New York, in George Santos's district, and now in what I suspect is a Democratic Party backed media push, they are doing a full court press on how we have to, the lessons that we learned from the special election is that we have to adopt more right-wing framing on issues such as crime, taxes, and above all, immigration. I wanted to hear your take because you are the special election boy. You're the special boy that is very fond of covering special elections.
Yeah. So there's a lot of particulars about this special election. People just see it as just one of many kind of races that happen that are really worth considering in context. First off, as I think most people are known, this is the George Santos district. It's New York's 3rd district. It's it's the place he represented before he resigned. So from the get-go, this is not going to be a normal kind of election. It's in the aftermath of a scandal. Those usually benefit the opposition party even more, even if the incumbent party whose incumbent resigned or was kicked out is not tainted with that scandal. They're just going to be associated with it. The second fact is that the Democrat running here was not just any kind of random kind of candidate like Mary Peltola or Paul or Ryan in the elections 2022. Tom Sweezy, I don't know exactly how his name is pronounced. He's been in politics for 30 years. He was previously the county executive for the suburban district that encompasses most of the district. He represented the district for 3 terms in Congress before he ran for New York governor, and that was why he left the seat in 2022, and that's how Santos got elected. So he's a very known quantity. He's won elections 3 times in the district, all by margins, I believe, that were greater than the one he won this time. In 2020, he won by 12 points. This time, he's won by about 7. And the Republican there that they were running is like an IDF, veteran, Ethiopian immigrant who was a registered Democrat before she was selected by the party to run. nowhere near his profile. So all of these factors adding together, you're going to have a situation where the Democrat there, all else is equal, is going to be very favored. So the result
especially with the
being
George Santos stink too.
yeah.
Before we even get to the individual issues and who actually was favored over the other, which I'm sure you're going to bring up, considering that like Swayze, however you fucking say his name, was not exactly winning on any of the issues that the Democratic Party learned the worst lessons off of, supposedly. I think personally that like the most prescient outcome here, or like what we need to take away from this, is that yes, if you run a fucking charlatan con man like George Santos, and everyone in the district is saying like, we just got duped, we need someone else, like, yeah, the Republican Party is not going to recover from that regardless, even if it was a deep red district, in my opinion.
Yeah, we know that, especially if the Democrats are running like a very, very strong candidate, like a very well-known, popular quasi-incumbent, like Swayze. Like it's not just like they're running some random guy. Swayze is tremendously. I was looking at the Siena poll, which is one of the best pollsters out there. They did a poll on this district a week or so before, I think a week ago, and so they polled both the presidential race and the congressional race. Swayze was net favorable. He had a net favorable rating of 2 points. In contrast, Biden had a net favorable rating of, I think, -18. So it's a totally different situation. It's not like you can't extrapolate to the presidential race at all. In one situation, you have a moderate Democrat who's very well known and is seen as experienced and like effective. And the other, you have someone like Biden, who's one of the most unpopular politicians in the country. So I think the difference in the outcome in that race and in the poll had Trump leading Biden in the district at the same time it had Swayze leading his opponent. The question is that of competence and like effectiveness than it is anything related to ideology, because Swayze and Biden have nearly identical positions. It's just that one is seen as a doddering elderly man and the other is seen as an effective, experienced local politician.
Yeah, especially juxtaposed with like the doddering charlatan con man that he was supposed to replace if elected.
Yeah, it's a perfect contrast. You could not ask for anything better.
Yeah. So having said all of this, even though it's not an analog for the general election at all, it does seem like the Democrats are leaning on the classic "we want to lose" attitude that they've always had. Look, I've often talked about a couple things that the Republican Party will never be outflanked on. One of those things, obviously, is patriotism, right?
Yeah.
You will never be able to outflank the Patriots. Donald Trump could say, fuck John McCain, he's a fucking loser, and still be considered the more patriotic candidate than the Democrat, right? Just like John Kerry tried to do that originally as a decorated Vietnam veteran, and they belittled him and said that his Purple Heart was fake and you know, that he was gay. He was fake and gay.
I'm actually a bit of a John Kerry revisionist, but like that is true. I think his 2004 performance was actually pretty respectable, all things considered. But that did happen. Obviously, didn't go as they planned.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, he's a windsurfer. He's fake and gay. He's not a real patriot." And he fucking lost because, and time again, Democrats still did not learn the lesson from that. And you know, did the Amy McGrath play against Mitch McConnell, which was so idiotic to begin with. I mean, you can say that Mitch McConnell's an institution and is like impossible to shake, obviously, but you know, trying with that same narrative that we have like a real patriot here who like lasered children overseas with fucking drone strikes, or Air Force with bombs and munitions, like that's why we're the real patriots. We should vote for Amy McGrath. It's not going to work.
You're giving into their framing. You're admitting that they're right. Why should anybody vote for you if you're admitting that they're right?
Exactly. And this is something that I basically bang my head against the wall over and over again on issues of crime. The crime narrative in the midterms was so prominent, and everyone kept saying like, no, like crime is a real problem, but we are going to be the most reactionary on crime, not the Republicans. Or even defunding the police is actually the reason why there's so much crime happening, and that Democrats are the party of funding the police. I mean, this was an abject failure from the jump, and it didn't actually give any electoral boosts. What's up?
It failed the most in places where they tried it the most. Hochul and Adams in New York were poster childs of the moderate on crime thing. All it did was end up raising the salience of the issue and costing them seats. In places where they campaigned on other issues where they were actually favored, they did much better.
And they're doing it again. As you quote retweeted, Aaron from Queens, the entire story of this election is right here. Philip only has a slim digit advantages on issues on the border Israel, while Swayze leads by 13 points on abortion.
No, I actually checked the poll. It was by more. Basically, that poll said that the Republican in that race, even after all of the time and money and effort Swayze spent on like being like right wing and immigration, which still was not like kind of as reactionary as some of the like hacks have made it out to be. He still talked about a pathway to citizenship and stuff. Like it wasn't like as extreme as what I mean. It was like he was calling for the border to be shut down, but it wasn't like as like how people like Senator Murphy have kind of painted as like where he was an arch reactionary. But even after all of that, he was not favored on the issue of immigration. Even in the poll where he led, voters, including voters that said they were going to vote for him, said that they still trusted his opponent more on immigration. The reason why he was winning is because he was trusted on three principal issues: democracy, competence, and abortion. Those were his three strengths in the race, and they're the reason why he won. And those are like the immutable strengths of any Democrat. You don't have to reinvent the wheel to win off of that. It's just the thing that Biden has the democracy thing on his side. He has abortion on his side. What he doesn't have is competence. He doesn't have that reputation that he can actually run the country. And that stems from age that I'm sure you've been talking about for a while.
Yes, because I want Donald Trump to win because I hate democracy and I love fascism.
Yeah,
or
you and
rather,
Jon
I just,
Stewart.
you know what it is? I just don't like it when Democrats get to do the fascism. I love the Republican Party. I want them to do the fascism. This
Yeah,
is
they came up
something
with
that
their spurs.
this is something that I will never understand when people come in here and yell at me over, especially because like you have the Democratic Party now alongside the liberal media positioning themselves as the guys to go to for white nativist immigration. This is idiotic. This is
Yeah.
bad politics and bad policy. Democrats at least are supposed to be on the side of good policy, but bad politics. Now they've just
Yeah.
adopted bad politics and bad policy. A double bind.
It's especially like poorly informed if you understand the nature of the election. Like people are instinct in that type of media universe. They instinctually think that like if they're ever trailing in a race, the reason is because they've lost swing voters. What for Biden, and I think like a military analogy is helpful here. Biden actually does have like the flanks secured, like the swing voters. He polls well still with swing voters who are very interested in elections and always vote in every race. Democrats do well with those people. The problem is that his center of like people who don't vote as often, young voters, non-white voters, low
Yes.
income, low education voters, his numbers have totally tanked there. So he's fine with like the suburban people who like are really interested in January 6th or whatever. Those people have never actually left his corner. But he's facing a turnout collapse with young voters, a turnout collapse in mass defections to a rate no Democrat has ever seen in like recent history with non-whites. His center, his base has collapsed, and that's why he's trailing. If you look at the numbers and the way that those work, so if he's going to win, he needs to win back the trust of those voters. He has to give them a reason for them to turn out. I don't think that I think that his persona makes that extremely difficult because people are just kind of primed to see this unpopular old establishment figure as somebody that they can't trust. But if they go down the road of trying to imitate Republicans on immigration after spending years talking about how it was the human rights issue of our time, it's going to look cynical. It's going to look disingenuous. It's not going to be what those people agree in, and it's going to make the problem and the reason why they're losing worse.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I do feel like, I mean, I don't know who the fuck is the guy leading the charge here, but I do feel like behind the scenes, the Democratic Party, for some reason, have decided that this is a good strategy, and it's not an accident. It does seem like there's a full court press happening right now to get the legacy publishers to adopt the notion that like the Democratic Party is the party of immigration. You will never be able to outflank the Republicans on racism. It's just not going to happen. And all he's doing, like you said, is cutting off the base of support that he desperately needs at this point, in my opinion. that from the younger voter base, from Latino voters, not like obviously Venezuelan, Cuban Latino populations in Miami, but like, or even Texas Latino voters, but like young Latino voters in every other fucking state, including Nevada, for example, like places that he desperately.
Arizona and Georgia,
Yeah,
because all
Nevada,
those states
Arizona, Georgia, exactly. Places that he's like taking for granted currently, that he can't just win
trailing
with the.
terribly in all three of those states. If you look at the electoral map, and I've written a lot about this, the math for this is incredibly risky. Biden, if you look at the states he won in 2020, he has 303 electoral votes. That's the three Midwestern swing states of Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and the three Sunbelt swing states of Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia. If he wins all three, one of those batches of three states, he wins the election. But if he loses Arizona, Nevada, and Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada, his polls have him currently down by 5+ points in all three states. He will have to win every single state he won in 2020 and all three states in the Midwest, and he will win by a single electoral vote. They are cutting it extremely close.
Yeah. It's a race to the bottom on both sides, to be honest. I feel like Donald Trump is also obviously not the best candidate to run for the Republican Party either.
Historically terrible.
Yeah, so they're just like
it's coughing baby versus coughing baby election.
Yeah, they're trying to outcompete one another on who gets to have the worst person possible for the job. But yeah, I don't know what else to make of this situation. I don't know why everyone in the Democratic Party is now pushing this agenda where they're like, you have Swalwell, who everyone's favorite sexual intercourse haver of Chinese spies, Eric Swalwell, coming out and being like, yeah, actually, coming out and being like, yeah, actually, it's the Republicans are the ones who don't want anything done on the immigration front. Like, look at them. All they're doing is impeaching the Department of Homeland Security Secretary, and we have a really sick bill here that they're no longer that they don't want to actually push for. We gave them everything that they wanted.
It's like trying to like count angels on like a pinhead instead of like kind of noticing the obvious, which is that if you run a guy even as generic as Swazi or any of the other people have run in these elections, you're going to sweep Trump. Anybody but Biden is going to win this election on a walk. It won't be close. You just need somebody who can project a level of competence along with the issues that favor them, abortion and democracy and taxes. Taxes generally are pretty good for them, actually, outside of very specific areas like New York, which got screwed by the SALT tax repeal under Trump. Like your basic kind of bread and butter message that all their candidates ran on and won with in 2022 is going to be fine. There's a kind of a socially liberal inclination with the majority of the public at this point. The only way you can screw it up is running somebody and insisting on somebody who most people think is too old to serve, and you are seemingly incapable of actually getting out in public in a way that will make them think otherwise.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say on this issue. I mean, the fact that they like also separated the funding package for Ukraine and Israel. I guess like foreign policy is never the age old the oldest cliche in American media and political coverage is that foreign policy is not an issue for American voters until it becomes the issue. And I don't know if it will become the issue, but what I do see is that Trump is 10 points ahead on how he would deal with Israel-Palestine over Biden. And I think part of that is not because Biden is like, not going hard enough in support of Israel, but rather that his consistent messaging, like the leaks that keep coming out of him being like, oh, well, I said a mean word about Netanyahu behind the closed doors while simultaneously giving him $18 billion of weapons so he can fucking laser more Palestinian children. While Netanyahu goes on television every day and is like, Joe Biden sucks and I will never do a two-state solution immediately after Biden says he wants a two-state solution, makes it seem like he's asleep at the wheel and feeds into the narrative that he's incompetent.
Everything is giving that perception where they refuse to do interviews on to the largest television audience in human history, when they refuse to do a cognitive test, when you have you're trying to play it both ways by saying how much you hate Netanyahu without reversing any of your policies. it's too clever by half in every single respect. And it's like the thing with Israel in particular. I think that what makes that tough for him, I think that the recent leaks talking about like how he is like making him look like he's getting rolled haven't helped. But the perception of chaos, just that in and of itself, I think is what's really hurting him. Because if you have a president who's asleep at the wheel, international crises breaking out every 6 months is what people like kind of see as a result of that. So when they ask him how he would handle the issue, and all he says is, "Well, if I was in charge, this would have never happened in the first place." That's compelling to people. It plays into the narrative that they think about the election. It plays into how they consider the candidates, and it allows Trump to avoid having any kind of divisive policy. Because I mean, this type of stuff actually didn't happen when he was in charge. I don't think that was because of anything he did. A lot of what's happening now is a direct result of his own policies, like in Ukraine and Israel. I think directly as a result of that. But uh, just you can't like have an old guy who people think is like I think is 86% think is too old to serve as president. That is not an idle judgment whatsoever. That is a very serious that it's like it's over if people think about that. Like people aren't just saying that just to say it. It's like a thing you can just ignore. That's a huge like supermajority opinion. It just all plays into this idea that Biden is not in charge, and it ties into Trump's one remaining strength, which is the idea that he's a strong leader, and he looks appealing only in contrast to Biden. It does not look appealing in contrast to anybody else. It's a matchup from hell for the Democratic side.
Okay, so you have the powers. You have Biden's ear. Okay, you're his top campaign advisor. What do you recommend to Joseph Robinette Biden and the Democratic Party in terms of messaging? How do you solve this problem? Now, obviously,
If I can't tell him to drop out,
well, no, you can't tell him to drop out. Obviously, that's the first thing. Duh. But you're not. Yeah, you push him. You push him gently when he's trying to walk down the stairs.
Yeah, I open up the window and a slight breeze comes in.
No, but beyond that, okay, beyond the light breeze that takes him out entirely, he's still very much alive. He's in the hyperbaric chamber. They're rolling him out every now and then. What are the things that he has to do to fix the messaging issue?
He has to take every single media opportunity available. He has to start doing that yesterday. You can't do stuff that plays into. You can't beat the dementia allegations by acting like your candidate has dementia. Like you can't do stuff like refusing TV interviews. You can't do stuff like refusing a cognitive test, like the first time a president has ever refused to do that, I think. Like you can't.
That was
play,
awesome.
Like I mean, it's like what other conclusion are we supposed to come to here? Like what? How could you explain this if he actually is totally fine? It's like that thing that Jon Stewart said. It's like if he's totally with it and in control, why aren't you filming that? It's like I don't think that I hope that they wouldn't be doing this if he's not actually like that. So you need to actually start projecting that. As for the specific issue of immigration, I mean, I don't really necessarily hate the idea of them saying Republicans killed a deal for politics. I think you can work with that in a certain way. Like it plays into Republicans caring about politics, not trying to solve solutions. But you have to make it just a general leadership question. You can't make it like a thing of how, oh, we're the real party on the border. It's like we're the real party that actually cares about this. We're going to totally flip this. It has to be kind of just in the framing of like these guys just care about this for political reasons. They don't actually care about it for like whatever they say they care about. It's just for votes for them. And like that plays into Trump being corrupt and dishonest. And it's just very bread and butter stuff. They've already beaten this guy before. They've beaten this party like a tremendous number of times. They haven't really lost an election year since 2016. And that was kind of like a fluke. Like you don't have to like rethink your entire approach here. Like the immigration stuff in particular was a huge asset to them. Maybe there's not a way you can kind of go back to like saying that he put kids in cages when you're doing that yourself.
Yeah.
But just try to like don't try to reinvent the wheel. This guy's always been unpopular. Like just kind of look like you're up to it. Look like you like project some level of competence. Just hit the basic stuff on democracy and abortion and competence, obviously. And this won't be hard. This should not be a hard election. This is not in any way hard election. The people haven't bought into what Trump is doing. They don't like him. He has a tremendous liabilities. He might be in prison before like election day. Like this, the only way they can lose it if they get in their own way. They seem very determined to do that.
Well, they're neutralizing the Fannie Willis Georgia RICO with a because Fannie Willis did the one thing that men are always allowed to do, but supposedly women are not allowed to do, which is have sex with the wrong person. Okay,
Yeah.
it seems like they've they're working extra hard to absolutely neutralize that one court case, which I think is like pretty solid.
I heard
But
that, like, from what she said, it wasn't going to be decided until 2025, which, like, if you're looking at these court cases in the context of the election, you're just only looking at the ones that can be decided before election day, which is pretty much exclusively the DC case. A
yeah,
lot's going to be decided about that soon, depending on if the Supreme Court decides to delay it or not, which could be very, very important. But I really, personally, the DC case is the only one I've really paid much attention to.
the thing that I
is
care about the
slow.
court is obviously that it will be televised because it's a state case rather than a
Oh
federal
yeah.
one. So I think that well, one, it's great for me because I will sit there and
Oh
do
yeah. Of
court
course.
watch nonstop. It's just endless content. Thank you so much, Fannie Willis. Even though
Yeah.
I don't like what she did to YSL, Free Thug, but
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
But having said that, I do think that will have implications for the race as well. Constantly having Trump on camera in the court is going to only reinforce the narrative that he is like a crook, a criminal. It almost plays the I am a believer that I think the last second Hail Mary in the last election cycle that really pushed Biden over the finish line, which many people get mad at me for saying this, was Donald Trump getting COVID.
Oh yeah, I
Like,
agree totally.
it's something that we totally we never talk about for some weird reason, but it absolutely made people remember all of the most devastating aspects of COVID when the fucking president got it. Okay? Like, I think that's a
Totally backs
huge
you up on
deal.
that.
That was a
Statistically, you're
huge
totally right.
that was a huge fucking deal, and I think that actually pushed Biden across the finish line. It was not like a minor thing. It was like the Jim Comey letter, the second letter. Like, that's a big deal. That was a big
That
deal for
happened.
Hillary
You're
Clinton.
absolutely right. Biden actually, his numbers, the polling was tremendously off that year. Because of COVID, it made it hard for them. They oversampled a lot of liberals who were staying at home while conservatives were just doing whatever outside, so they weren't picking up their phones. The polling there was just really, it's not a permanent issue. It's just a very specific COVID thing. But Biden's numbers before the debate and when Trump got COVID were actually narrowing significantly over September. It's kind of a thing that always happens with Trump. He has kind of cycles where he goes up and down. But after the first debate and after he got COVID, Biden numbers completely spiked. He was leading by nearly 10 points. And that provided him a big cushion for when Trump had kind of a last second surge when he went on a huge rally circuit like he did in 2016. Biden was leading by a lot more than Hillary was at the end, and he ended up winning very narrowly. I would say absolutely that was one of a lot of factors that sealed it.
Yeah, and I think Democrats don't realize that was like a major that played a big role, and I think that what will happen now is like with the highly televised, like what's Biden's biggest weakness is his competence, his lack of competence, his senility, right? Trump's biggest weakness is how corrupt he is and how undemocratic he is. And when you have Trump consistently pictured in a court, inside of a courtroom over and over again, I think it reaffirms that position that he's corrupt and also a crook, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's almost like the COVID, it's almost like the recycling of the COVID narrative that like it will really hammer on Trump's biggest fucking it'll really hammer on to the eyes of like the moderates and whatnot that Biden currently has locked down regardless, that like Donald Trump is going to be the same kind of madness that you hated, that you will have to forcibly pay attention to politics and you don't like that. And that's going to happen if Donald Trump wins again. So don't vote for him is going to be what is happening.
He got
with the court
margins
cases.
in the suburbs too. Like in 2022, Democrats, a reason why they did well was that their margins increased in the suburbs off of Biden's numbers in 2020. That happened in Georgia. It was a pretty like crazy thing to watch. So yeah, and it'll spark a ton of interest. It'll be a huge circus. People who aren't normally paying attention to the election will they'll perk up when they hear that Trump is in a courtroom or Trump has like been convicted of a felony by a jury. that'll like when that if that comes like to be the predominant story like at the time of the election, like that could be the cause of a last second boost for Biden for sure. And polling right now currently has him leading in hypothetical, even in polls where Biden is down, he is ahead sometimes by very large margins in hypothetical situations where Trump has been convicted. So I don't even think you need like Trump to actually be convicted. Just really like making like what's going on clear to people, what might be enough to really get this small Trump lead whittled down and get back into the black.
This is why I think like it's very very hard to call it at this stage. Like people have like in either direction, especially because like
people have said that I'm equivocating or whatever. You don't know what's going to happen. I don't know either. There are certain factors that benefit the candidates in one way. There are certain factors that benefit the candidates the other way. At this point in 2022, they hadn't even like the Dobbs decision hadn't even leaked. We didn't know what was going to happen. Like the most you can do as a commentator right now is just lay out the different factors and narratives that are going to be working and like try to figure out what that says about where the public is at. I think that right now we're in a very non-ideological moment. We've had all the fights. It hasn't really ended in a definitive way. People are kind of sick of it. They're willing to accept a policy one way or the other as long as they think it works. They just want somebody who is competent in charge. And it's an election from hell because both of the candidates running cannot project the competence that you need to really seal the deal here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, Ettinger Mentum, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you?
Well, I'm on Editor Mentum on Twitter, and I have a newsletter. We had a big couple of days last week with the Kamala stuff and Biden and Trump dying. So check out that article. People really liked it. But yeah, I'm going to be doing election coverage for the next 9 months. We'll see how it goes. I will do my best. I think that that's all any of us can promise. But thanks for having me on, Hassan.
All right, thanks for coming on.
No
Kamala
problem.
Harris's strongest soldier, Ettinger Mentum, everybody.
Yeah, that's where we are.
All right. Have a good one. Bye. Okay. It's reasonably likely that either Biden or Trump will die of natural causes before election day. That is also true. So that's what I also think as well. Anyway, I hope that was a little bit such reddity of takes. What do you mean? I hope that was a little bit more helpful for those who are still questioning where I'm coming from with my analysis, with what I'm saying. This is it's not a great situation. It's not a great situation, but never forget, of course, you did not just fall out of a coconut tree. You exist within the context of everything that you've experienced and everything that came before you, obviously. So that's something to always to consider. Yeah, you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context and all in which you live and what came before you. Duh. You will not believe the story, I promise. And then the person in question is, yes, I saw breaking news: Tucson teacher loses job over OnlyFans account. Who's the Tucson teacher? Mother freaking queen. Okay, Rachel Dolezal. Love her. Free her. What's happening right now is completely fucking unacceptable. Okay. I also didn't realize that I knew she had an OnlyFans. Duh. Obviously, I'm subscribed to it. But I didn't know that I did not know that on top of her very public OnlyFans, that she was actually a school teacher again. Because remember, she was a teacher in the beginning. But I thought she was interested. She had become a hairdresser instead, while simultaneously also doing the OnlyFans thing. So, but on Black History Month, completely unacceptable. Bigger question: if not Trump or Biden, who to vote for? Or just fucking abstain. Don't ask me this question, okay? I do not have a good answer for this question as of now. Do what your heart tells you, okay? Yes. Has there been any official statements made by the police at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade? Because as far as I understand, yes, this is wee woo breaking news. So far, 1 dead and multiple injured in shooting following the Chiefs' Super Bowl parade. Officials are holding a news conference following the Kansas City shooting. Is that live right now? We will tune into CNN to see what is going on. But according to NBC News, at least 10 people shot near the Kansas City Chiefs victory parade route. Authorities say 1 killed, 3 in critical condition, 5 in serious condition, 1 non-life-threatening injuries. Obviously, the immediate reaction is American gun culture is out of control. Everybody has guns. We got to do something about it, but who knows? Why can't they do more car chases as crimes? I don't know. America is fucked, though. Not a single moment.
Live on our air, being taken, handcuffed, put into vans. So can you talk about that and the process as this investigation continues?
I don't know exactly the two that you're talking about that your camera caught on video being loaded into a wagon. I don't know that, but I can tell you that in and around that scene, it is still active. Not active in necessarily threats, but it's a very active scene. We're still investigating. This is still early on. We still have parties that are.
You literally call this in the Brandon tweet? I mean, we don't know if it's like some fucking right-wing nutso that was geared towards like shooting up the parade because of the Brandon tweet. We don't know that, okay? I will not make that. I will not make that assessment. But predicting, 10 to 15. But to be fair, predicting a fucking mass shooting is going to happen in America is like predicting that the sun is going to come up tomorrow. Okay, it happens every day, multiple times a day. So.
I don't have anything about. I can't give you an answer on the timing. I can just say that that's when it occurred, and we are investigating what led up to that. Maybe once we get some of those details, we'll know why that happened at that time. But right now, it's still too new.
Chief, is it one incident or multiple incidents that injured one?
That is something that is under investigation.
Mayor Lucas talked about how you were on the ground and you yourself.
Yeah, the real prediction is that I assume that people will say it's a trans person, because why wouldn't they? They never get punished for it. And yes, of course, lo and behold, they're claiming it's a trans person immediately. Like the absolute psychopaths, dude. The absolute psychopaths in America have now decided, like, no, it's always trans people. It's like always trans people.
With Chiefs players, along with fans, hundreds of thousands of people would be forced to run for our safety today. I think that I'll let the investigation shake out before coming to any further conclusions, but I think the initial response absolutely is anger. You know, we have done a number of these now, and this is a day that a lot of people look forward to, something they remember for a lifetime. And what they shouldn't have to remember is the threat of gun violence, marring a day like this, injuring them and their families. This morning, I was actually thinking about bringing my child, as many people in Kansas City did. And I don't want us to.
No, this is a new shooting. This happened today, like literally a couple hours into my broadcast.
Think about a concern of being shot. As the chief noted, we had a lot of law enforcement officers there today. They did exceptional and outstanding work, and I will second that again.
Oh, the one thing I will say is, yes, I know. I talked to Jeff earlier this morning. That's why he was memeing. For the H3 heads in the chat that are still here, if they are, I was memeing with Jeff this morning about, like, because I've been asking him to come cut my hair. And he was like, no, I can't do that because I'm going on Ethan's show today. And I was like, you fucking asshole.
But I wish that we lived in a world where they wouldn't have to do that. I wish we live in a world where we wouldn't have to see incidents like that. But I'm as heartbroken as anybody. We will do a full and thorough investigation. I hope that we bring whoever this is to justice. And we will continue to try to make sure that we can be as safe as possible. However, when you have people who decide to bring guns to events, when you have people who are deciding to try to mar events, celebratory ones like this one, all of us start to become members of this club that none of us want to be a part of, which is those who have experienced mass shootings. I hope for Kansas City this is one of the last times we experience that.
Players in danger at any point?
What's that? Sorry, go ahead.
In danger at any point?
Was I in danger?
Any other players? Chiefs players?
You know what? I think we'll let the investigation take a look at that. The police department responded effectively, I think incredibly quickly, to make sure that people would be out of harm's way. That being said, a number of us had to flee from a situation because we heard a sound of gunshots. So I'll let you answer your own question in terms of whether you think that's something that puts you in danger or not. In my view, anytime shots are nearby, you don't know where they're coming from, you don't know who's firing them and all of that, then perhaps there is a situation of danger. But
Thank you guys. Can I get back inside?
Can I ask a fire question?
Of the 10 to 15 injured, that you say, are all of those gunshots and whatnot, and do you have a sense of how many, or are some of those also critical in injury? We've covered that we don't have that information.
I just have a fire question. Hold on. 10 to 15 is what we have. Potentially 15. One deceased. I don't have a condition on the other gunshot victims. Correct. It's correct.
We don't know how many.
One fire question. No, I do not.
Because Chief Graves said that we're going to have a lot of updates later, guys. We got to go inside and gather this information. I appreciate it.
What are the updates, Jake, later? Well, just look on Twitter. I just have excuse me. I just have one thing to say. This is not Kansas City. I'm angered by what happened, but I want you to know that the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department and all the law enforcement officers that were there today.
In the past 8 months, I've been in one active shooter situation and 2 known someone in an active shooter situation. This particular one from today, I'm sick of this shit. That's America. I don't know what to fucking say other than that's America, baby.
To those victims. We were here for a safe celebration, and because of 2 bad actors or more, is why we're standing here today. We will recover as a city. My heart goes out to our victim who is deceased, but your police department stands ready, and we are invested in the safety and betterment of Kansas City. Thank you.
We'll send you guys more updates on Twitter, okay? Follow the Twitter account and we'll put the updates. All right. We have been listening to authorities in Kansas City provide an update on the shooting that took place in the area of the Chiefs Super Bowl victory parade. The police chief confirmed at least 1 person has been killed. 2 suspects are in custody. But, Errol, the thing that popped out to me from that press conference was that she said, Police Chief Stacey Graves, I'm angry at what happened today, and we heard that echoed from Mayor Quinton Lucas, who said he thought about bringing he was there with his wife and his mother, and he thought about bringing his kid, and he said, I don't want, for every big event, to worry about being shot.
But that's such...
If Taylor says anything, we get in gun law changes, you're not wrong.
At least 1 person is dead. The police chief there also... saying
yeah, also, for the record, what we do know, at least like according to this video, is that some of the KC citizens tackled one of the shooters, apparently. So I don't know. I don't know if that's like a pile on in the chaos, but that's what they're saying. But you can see the woman picking up a gun. It's one of them. There are multiple in the footage. Did you see Charlie's video on the officer shooting at a car because of Acorn? No, I watched the officer shooting at a car because of the Acorn myself. I watched it yesterday.
Just kind of shaken up a little bit.
I don't get my police goofs and gaffs news from motherfucking Moist Critical, okay? Come on now. This is the police. This is the funny haha goofs and gaffs. Look at the fucking incompetence of the police community. People on Twitter are so horny for the fact that it might be gang violence. Listen, I don't know what the fuck is the reason for why this happened, but I do know one thing. It doesn't happen like this anywhere else. That's it. Why you always got smoke for Charlie? Jesus fucking Christ. Wait, I don't have smoke for Charlie at all. What the fuck are you talking about? I like Charlie. Brother, I like Charlie. I watch a lot of his videos on this stream. But if you think that, like, if someone comes into me, comes into this broadcast and goes, hey, man, did you see Charlie? Did you hear about Charlie's take on, like, the presidential election? I'm going to be like, come on, that's my thing. That's my thing, dog. Don't come to me Don't come to me with my thing. I was there. I'm just shook. Jesus. Well, I'm glad you're safe. I'm glad you're safe, but you're not safe from the top of the hour ad break. That's right, because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. That is my most ruthless ad break segue. Listen, man. Every day, baby. Every fucking day. Every goddamn day in this goddamn country, there is another motherfucking mass shooting. Holy moly. Okay? Bro, if I type that in the chat, I'd get banned. Yes, because you are chatting. I am the streamer. Capitalism sucking your soul, lol. Listen, I'm memeing because he is safe. Okay, so that's it. And also because, every day, multiple times a day. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. In that video, the fans tackling the shooter, the camera does pan to a bunch of cops sitting on their asses. Wait, no fucking way. First of all, Taylor is a fucking coward who takes a stance against nothing. Second of all, if Jesus himself came down from the heavens and told Americans to put their guns down, they would shoot them for being a fraud. And third of all, fuck New Jersey. Why fuck New Jersey? New Jersey has at least New Jersey has decent gun laws. What the hell? Do you have any Valentine's Day plans? Yes, I do. With your mom. You already knew. You already knew. I did this last year too. Okay. I said it. Yeah, well, it was going to come for you. It was going to come for you just like I'm coming for your mom. Fuck you with all my heart. Wow, dude, get a new joke. Why? Your mom likes this joke. It worked on her. Anyway, what are the updates we have at this moment from the Kansas parade? 1 dead, multiple injured in shooting following the Chiefs Super Bowl parade. Biden has been briefed on the shooting, which, who gives a shit about Biden at this point? But police chief has confirmed 1 person was killed at the shooting at the Super Bowl rally. Kansas City Police Chief Stacey Graves confirmed that at least 1 person was killed in a shooting at the end of the celebration of the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. Graves said the shooting happened on the west side of Union Station. When officers got there, they took 2 people into custody and immediately started helping people who were hurt. Bro, Kansas City, Missouri, not fucking Kansas. Come on. Sorry. Kansas City, Missouri. I know. Very touchy. I know. Missouri. Officials don't know exactly how many people were wounded, but it could be upwards from 10 to 15, Graves said. She also says she did not yet have more information about the condition of the victims. I am not going to make an assessment on this until there's more information on the motive, on the suspect. There's more details. So no, I'm not going to jump to that conclusion and be like, oh, it's because someone fucking believed the Taylor Swift conspiracies or whatever. But as far as I understand, people are already running with the narrative that, oh, look, not different than this. Look at this. Orlando Sentinel. Police respond to reports of shots fired at the Gardens Mall in Palm Beach Gardens. Probably a black guy. Well, look at that, dude. Another mass shooting, and immediately the exact same assessment stands for Americans on Twitter. Another mass shooting happening, and people are speculating it must be a black person. I don't know who is responsible for it, but that is a ridiculous thing to fucking jump to conclusions on. I don't know why. So, Charlie Kirk is still trying to blame the last one on trans people. Far-right media is still trying to push a false narrative that the Texas megachurch shooter was transgender. Has Joel Osteen come out and said that the wicked trans ideology is to blame for this?
This is a person who tried to shoot up a church. And by the way, this is not the first time we've seen this. We see this where mass shooters across the country who are trans, law enforcement is more interested in using the proper pronouns than actually finding justice or saying this despicable person doesn't deserve our attention. Who cares what their pronouns? You know what the pronouns are? Savage animal. That's the pronouns.
You're shitting on 2 of this country's favorite things, guns and racism. I know. Holy moly, what has happened to Charlie Kirk's hairline? Jesus Christ, dude. All that hatred in your heart, not good, okay, folks? Not good. By the way, the Joel Osteen church shooter, not even fucking trans. Like, literally had her biological child next to her that, as far as I understand, that she gave birth to. And yet, these motherfuckers are still doing the trans thing. It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because that is the narrative in perpetuity, okay? One trans shooter is all it took for every one of these right-wing fucks to be like, well, the next shooter, definitely trans. Next shooter, definitely trans. Next shooter, definitely trans. And it's so wild. Because, like, the overwhelming majority of mass shooters in this country, especially politically motivated ones, are literally Charlie Kirk fans. The fuck are you talking about? It's wild. If my audience is comprised of like a bunch of potential mass shooters of the future, I'm not going to be rushing to conclusions on this side and very quickly being like, yeah, it must have been a trans person. It's very weird. Anyway. Charlie Kirk unironically looks inbred. Yeah. Well, you know, all that hatred. A huge banner in central Tel Aviv. Do not fear Israel. Do not be afraid. For are you not a young lion? Who can beat us? The eternal nation always wins. Someone sent this to me and said, this is the most Patrick Bet David ass ad. And Israel is the most Patrick Bet David ass country. So, of course, this is the most Patrick Bet David ass ad for the most Patrick Bet David ass country. And yes, Elent News, I saw breaking. Two sources familiar with deliberations on Capitol Hill said that the intelligence has to do with Russia wanting to put a nuclear weapon in space. And I welcome it with open arms. Okay, just end it all, baby. You know what I mean? Space nukes. Ian Miles wrong. Is he dead? Is he alive? We will be covering that in a little bit. Let's finish off this. House GOP majority shrinks as Democrats flip. Fuck it. Actually, I don't even give a shit about this. Destroy the ozone layer. Fuck it. Let's see what Fox News is saying about this mass shooting before I get into my last portion of the news part of this broadcast.
Here is my resignation. And then he burst into tears. And he accepted the resignation. And what did they do at the House of Representatives? They voted to impeach him. The articles were sent to the Senate, where the Senate did not meet the 2/3 threshold to convict. Yet a majority of senators did vote for the conviction. At that point, it didn't matter. He had already resigned. So the story makes me feel that what Mayorkas did is so much worse than Belknap, who cried, submitted his resignation, and left D.C. in disgrace. So if Belknap can do that, so should Mayorkas, because what he's done to this country is so much worse.
They just said quick to the others, and I don't know if we can do that quickly because we have a lot to say. And Jessica, you were away last week. It's great to have you back around the table. What about somebody like a John Tester, Bob Casey, Sherrod Brown, even Tammy Baldwin? Those are tough Senate races for those Democrats, and they'll be looking at this.
They will be, absolutely. And there has already been tougher talk on the border. I think John Fetterman's kind of been leading the way, saying, it doesn't make you less of a patriot. It doesn't make you less of an American, less of a Democrat to say that we have a border crisis, and you should absolutely accept that. Ken Buck, who was one of only 3 Republicans in the House to vote against impeaching Mayorkas, has a piece in the National Review that's out today, talking about how poor job performance is not an impeachable offense. There is actually a standard that the Constitution lays out, treason, bribery, high crimes and misdemeanors, and that being bad at your job, and he says he's really bad at his job, doesn't meet the threshold. But you are seeing the GOP's focus on this border crisis, which there is a bill. They could pass it, bipartisan bill out of the Senate. Joe Biden wants to sign it. They're paying attention to that. And then
Our
Tom
favorite lib is
Suozzi
back.
is winning George Santos' seat last night. And guess what Tom Suozzi did?
You think they'll cover a shooting when they can rip on immigration? Yeah, I thought they would at least like talk about the shooting, but I'm shocked. Maybe we should have been a little bit more ableist with John Fetterman. Why is your uncle's company, the Young Turks, named after a group that was massive in the Armenian genocide? The same uncle who started your career, you Nepo baby millionaire hypocrite. You're not a political commentator. You're a moron who almost gets everything wrong. And instead of owning up to it, you call people Nazis and mauled. El Hassan, El Streamer, go fake cry on another podcast, dork. Bro, are you okay? Like, I don't want to make assessments here, but nothing screams like you are very alone on Valentine's Day and you are so 35-year-old IT guy coded than this, okay? Nothing says I'm having a bad fucking time on this day, so I'm going to just go and try to release all of my frustrations. They already unfollowed, boss. Aw. Podcast, have you been on a new pod? No, I think he's talking about leftovers. Like this is written like those strays were not needed. Well, if you're not like him, you don't have to say that. Okay? This screams like this is a cry for help. Can you explain the drive-by chatter mentality? What's your theory? I think people are just very sad, usually. Some people come in here because they want to know what's going on in the news. Some people come in here for a shared sense of community. And then others come in here to be like, I'm very sad and I want someone to acknowledge my existence. So I think that's where that comes from. Like that chatter probably has a sense of community and a sense of purpose from like the forums that he frequents, where a lot of this kind of stuff is passed off back and forth. And then they come in here and just like let out all of their animosity and their frustrations, hoping that someone will notice them and it will make them feel alive. Now, obviously, a big chunk of Twitch streaming revolves around this dynamic. You can do that by being a positive chatter who contributes to the discourse in fun ways, like making good jokes that the streamer steals, and then everybody laughs at it. Not all people who dislike you are forum crawlers, as a dumbass argument. Says the guy on his computer 10 hours a day. You're 40, bro. How much did you pay for your Valentine? I did not pay for your mom. That was free. So it's kind of messed up that you think that, even though there's nothing wrong with sex work. What your mom and I have is real. And no, many people that come in here and write copy pasta about the Young Turks, which I am not associated with at all, and cry about how I'm a bad person across the board, that have that level of animosity and frustration towards a fucking Twitch streamer, are not exactly a beacon of mental sanity. Okay? That's it. This is simply a very normal assessment to make. Yeah. It's literally 4chan pasta for half a decade ago. Yeah. And if you're coming in here and repeating a lot of that stuff, then it's most likely because you don't have a lot going on in your life. Do you ever see yourself doing content similar to what you used to do on TYT? I found it very informative, and that's why I followed early on. Maybe one day. It's kind of nostalgic. Haven't heard the TYT thing for a minute. Yeah. That's why I said that's like very 40-year-old stuck on 4chan coded. It must suck building this program organically from 100 viewers from nowhere to what it is now, only to have dumb chatter say it was your uncle who built it. I'm sorry, Haas, love you. No, I don't care. No, and Uncle Jenk did help out a lot early on, you know? I mean, it was mutually beneficial for him as well, but it doesn't matter. When people say that, you know, I'm a nepotism baby or a beneficiary of nepotism, there is truth to that. When people say I come from an affluent background, there is truth to that. I have said all of those things myself about myself. So I don't have an issue with these things. What I do have an issue with, however, is that people will think that these are somehow secrets that they have revealed about me or something. These are not like these are not secrets that I've hidden from you. It's something that actually informs my commentary. My own personal experiences shape my worldview, and it shapes my commentary. I always acknowledge my privilege, and I always will. I think everyone knows already, and it's just their opinion. Most people support you in the end. Yeah. Well, I don't even want people to support me in particular. I want people to be charitable to me if they do not agree with me. But I don't care about people supporting me personally. I care about people supporting the ideas that I push for. That's it. You've literally said most of these things on a fucking interview with Anthony Padilla is the opposite of hidden. Yeah, the other thing is like when people go, dude, remember when he went on the Tanky podcast with Second Thought, the program, and admitted that he like changes his messaging depending on his audience? And it's like, yeah, of course. Another thing that I openly admit. Yes. My goal is to show a different perspective, and I'm not going to fucking fly off the wheels and constantly be like an annoying like theory nerd all the goddamn time. Also, you didn't arrive at this as a secret. I voluntarily revealed it on a podcast. It's so weird. Anyway. You talk way too much about haters. It's true. Okay. Let's talk about one person who is a hater who currently is getting their comeuppance, I guess. That hater is Ian Miles Wrong, who is almost always on the wrong side of almost every issue. And now that he has passed, Ian Miles Chong, Malaysian commentator who has LARPed throughout his entire career as an American political commentator for some reason. Yes, R.I.P. Ian Miles Wrong. You have been executed by the Malaysian government for crimes against Malaysia, for seditious conspiracies, and also supporting the genocidal Israeli state. No, he didn't actually die, but it is pretty funny. Fact check by no, he didn't actually die. Chat. No, Ian Miles Chong was a former like liberal, I guess, until 2016, 2017, who then realized maybe he can make more money by funneling his dumbass commentary, which is commentary on the liberal side was also dumb, on the reactionary side. He originally started off as an anti-gamergater, gamergater. People online are fantasizing about Malaysia cracking down on right-wing commentator Ian Miles Chong. Malaysian right-wing commentator and social media influencer Ian Miles Chong was quick to dispel rumors spreading on the internet that his home government supposedly executed him over his past pro-Israel posts. I did find this very funny. Ian Miles Chong's tweets about Palestine, Israel from 2009 to 2014, and then 2019 to 2023. What do you notice? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what his perspective on Israel was or is. What matters is he's a right-wing reactionary commentator. Okay? He is a grifter. He says whatever American right-wingers want to hear. Seriously, I can't even take a nap without waking up to some nonsense, Chong wrote on X, formerly Twitter, on Wednesday local afternoon time. In response to another post by user Christy Yamaguchi Main at the Waffle House that read, Ian Miles Chong has been executed by the Malaysian government at the order of Anwar Ibrahim for his continued online support of Israel's offensive in the Gaza Strip. He was 35 years old. God damn. By the way, I don't even know if he's actually 35 years old, but that's a fucking broken ass 35, okay? He is, god damn. Anyway, the post falsely declaring Chong's death has since been deleted, but not before it garnered thousands of retweets and tens of thousands of likes and inspired celebration from social media users who apparently dislike Chong. Malaysia has observed a moratorium on capital punishment since 2018. Womp womp. That's a bummer. I don't know if I don't like that Malaysia is more woke. Malaysia is more woke than the United States of America in enforcing the death penalty, in enforcing capital punishment. That's kind of sad when you think about it for this specific instance only. Now he knows people's true feelings about him. I'm pretty sure he knew people's feelings about him anyway. Ian Miles Chong is like one of those figures that unites everyone. Like there's that fucking weird Australian Cypriot pervert. What is his name? Drew, whatever the fuck his name is. He's like the guy who's like, I want to kill, I don't know, Chinese nationals or whatever. He should just go to jail. I don't know why he's not in jail, but that Drew Pavlo. Yeah, that guy. Oh my God. The fact that I just mentioned him, oh, I'm going to get like 11 tweets doxing wrong people, thinking that they're like my relatives or something. A big time freak. Not very smart either, which is, oof, real bad. Anyway, I mean, he's just like he is the most Nazi liberal I've ever seen, okay? He's going to do a tweet storm about this measure. Anyway, he's a total fucking loser. Nobody gives a shit. Probably one of the most unemployed people on the planet. What is this? Drew Pavlo didn't know what the LGBT pink triangle was? Wait, what? Incredible sign in Melbourne, Australia. Queer Jews say free Palestine with the Hamas military propaganda symbol. Oh my God. The photo on the left shows the Hamas red triangle. The photo on the right shows a pink triangle. Oh my God, he's so dumb. God, he is so stupid. Anyway, he is so fucking stupid. It doesn't matter. I mean, this is a perfect demonstration of how fucking dumb he is, but it doesn't matter. He's like constantly hyped up by all the other dumbest people. So, one of the biggest dick riders of Israel, even that fucking guy is excited that Ian Miles Wrong might get into trouble with the Malaysian government. The brouhaha followed an earlier post over the weekend by an Australian political activist, Drew Pavlo. By the way, fucking dumb fuck, not an Australian political activist. He's a political activist in the same way that like I was gonna say the Unabomber was, but then again, the Unabomber probably was still more effective than even Drew Pavlov is. Hinkle Dinkel's partner in misinformation, probably because he isn't also pro-Ukraine. Yeah. Even he was excited at the prospect. Like, I never thought I would agree with this dude on anything. Okay, but I guess we agree on the demise of Ian Miles Wrong. This is a good question. Does he want him dead because he thinks he's Chinese or something? Yeah. Drew Pavlov thought Ian Miles Chong was Chinese and therefore wants him dead. I like that. That's funny. Yeah. Drew's insanely confidently incorrect posts are just so insane. He just freely leaks their information. I know. For the past week or so, if you heard from the absolute dumbest people in this chat going, Hassan, I heard you're a trust fund baby whose father owns like $7 gorillion or is a multi-billionaire oligarch. You have Drew Pavlov to thank for that, who is just so stupid. I don't know how else to describe it other than being an incredibly stupid person who thought that that was the case. But regardless, let's continue. I just saw a YouTube video saying exactly that. I know. Well, there's no shortage of morons on the internet. Can I ask you something? Why does it matter where someone came from? Doesn't it matter what their current actions are? Yes. But also, I'm not. My father is not an oligarch, and I actually support him financially. So I find that strange that people say that the opposite is true, that I'm the oligarch. Anyway, let's continue. Don't put your dad on blast because of pocket watching Andy's. No, I'm not putting him on blast. It's an honor, I think. It's what children are supposed to do. Anyway, this was a funny tweet. Me watching Ian Miles Chong's public execution. Ian Miles Chong getting their electric chair soon. Anyway, yay. His pro-Israel posting has finally got him noticed by the Malaysia's Muslim majority population law, says Sturgeon's Law. I'm very curious what the ominous line about Malaysians calling for action against him means. Malaysia has a history of arresting people and investigating them for sedition for making pro-Israel remarks. Okay. But yeah, he's always been Ian Miles Wrong, born and raised in Malaysia, never actually touched the United States of American soil ever in his entire life, literally only lived in Malaysia. When I first found out that he only lived in Malaysia, this was a couple years back, I was shocked, okay? Because he tweets like he lives in Portland, Oregon, because he's constantly talking about how there's like heroin needles and trans people everywhere in every corner in Portland, Oregon. At least the Canadians who do it live in America's hat. Okay? When someone is doing it from Malaysia, it's like, dude, that's the other side of the fucking planet. The fuck you mean? Ian Miles away from things he tweets about. No, the one who was thrown a milkshake ad is fucking, what's his face? I forgot. Andy No, who was another grifter charlatan, but at least he was like actually in Portland. So I've talked about why this is extra funny, because Malaysia is like one of the only countries that consistently, because every country is polled on like their sentiment against America, and Malaysia is one of the only countries that has a net negative approval rating of the United States of America. So Andy being like an America dick rider from Malaysia makes it even funnier. Okay. But yes, he only talks about Western issues. He originally started off with like being like a liberal during Gamergate. He was an anti-Gamergater, and then turned around and decided that there's more money to be made on the right-wing grift. There are many such examples of this. Jackson Hinkledink is another one, but Ian Miles Wrong is a very prominent example. Okay. Anyway, what is this? The Censored Man account did a deep retrospective on it, I guess. I don't really know too much about the Censored Man account. It seems like they're also one of those like accounts that popped off with Palestine posting, but probably have like a more nefarious perspective beyond that. But why are people retweeting Nazis? What do you mean? Bro was pro-Palestine in like 2012. But I do find it funny when even, yeah, alt-right friendly accounts, or even accounts that might be alt-right themselves, 'cause I don't know anything about this fucking account, other than I've seen their Palestine posts. Like, even those guys are shitting on him. All the pro-Palestine alt-right accounts hate Ian. So, it is pretty funny when you got motherfuckers like Jake Shields and shit who are just like out and about anti-vaxxer Nazi dudes who are pro-Palestine, I guess. Who... Wait, what? Oh, shit. You're saying that account literally heel turned on 10/7? I don't know I don't see any of their other accounts, though. I think they just look like... they just look like a impression farmer, you know what I mean? Before October 7. When someone is hated by everyone, I kind of feel bad for him. Fuck no. It was all Balenciaga shit and Sound of Freedom shit before then? Oh, nice. All pedo hunter and alpha man shit? Respect, of course. Of course it was. Anyway, people from Malaysia said he's really not known over there, so no one gives a shit about him or has even heard about him. Yeah. I'm sorry we moved past Drew Pavlov, but because this tweet, we have to address it anytime he's brought up. What is this? Given my birthday is June 4th, 1999, exactly 10 years to the day of the Tiananmen massacre, I believe I was very likely at Tiananmen in a past life. When I visited India, I met many Tibetan Buddhist friends who suggested this idea to me, and I have come to agree with them. The coincidence is too big to ignore. See General Patton's through a glass darkly on the potential compatibility of reincarnation and Christianity. I also believe I have been African American in a past life, because all my favorite artists from the time I was 3 years old have been African American, and I always identify with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. from the time I was a child. Just a thought. Drew Pavlov did the here's what you would look like if you were black or Chinese meme in December 2nd, 2023, before that shit started going mainstream and viral on Twitter. But he did it to himself. He was like, what's up, guys? I'm Drew Pavlov. Here's what I would look like if I was black or Chinese. Why not both? How about I'm black and Chinese at the same time? Yeah, goes to show, demonstrates once again, the more flags you put in your fucking Twitter bio, the more mentally unhinged you are. God, I love this guy. He's so funny. Anyway, where is it? There was a retrospective on his tweets. Oh, here, Ian Miles Chong, a retrospective. Frozen Planet. Anyone could be a fry cook. Not everyone could be a CEO. What a stupid, shallow tweet. This is him quote retweeting America's favorite socialist, Joshua for Congress. Remember that? And then, of course, demonstrating once again, he is incapable of being a fry cook. Here he is. I'm familiar with how words do not equate to violence. Here he is saying, words are violence. Remember that the next time someone tells you to feel ashamed of yourself for whatever woke reason and dish it back. Here he is saying, incels are worthless, annoying rodents. Here he is saying, SJW... here he is writing an article, SJW slammed Japanese video game Catherine for transphobia. Police should shoot shoplifters on sight, he says. Here he is admitting, I shoplifted a couple of times. Not proud of it. Here he is saying, I bet you think RoboCop is political. Which is pretty funny in and of itself. It is political. Some people are emancipated from having a conscience. These people usually become activists. I'm as much an activist as the next guy. Stop discrediting yourself with conspiracy theories, Ian Miles Wrong says. Are we on sightseeing? Here he is. Well, this is you know what? Here, I should set the mood correctly because he's dead now. I should have done this with the correct music necessary. He's not dead. He's not actually dead. But that's the meme. I'm gonna get shit for this, but here goes. Climate change is a hoax invented by neo-Marxists within the scientific community to destabilize the world economy and dismantle what they call systems of oppression and what the rest of us call capitalism. Which is pretty woke of him to say. Stupid, sexy babies. They bring it on themselves. Hashtag I need masculism because Redditors should be allowed to perv on 12-year-old girls on r/jailbait without being called out by Anderson Cooper. What? I think back then he was woke, though. He was like shitting on Redditors, probably. Another example of @Google's bias against PragerU in action. What is the response from Ian Miles Chong? PragerU is garbage. PragerU is Denmark's socialist. PragerU is awesome. Pornography. Wait, what?
Damn, this guy's good.